Disclaimer, the video you are about to watch uses footage owned by Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network Studios, and Man of Action. Please support the official release through DVDs and streaming services. Hi, so today we're going to be looking at a movie based off probably the very first show I ever really liked. Like before I even liked TMNT. And granted, I didn't like TMNT at the time, but this show I liked so much more. That being Ben 10. As you can see, I still have some of the toys from when I was a kid. Yeah, I know who you are. Don't judge me. But anyways, I don't know why. This show was just an awesome idea because it's about two cousins who go on a road trip with their grandpa. One of them finds a wash that turns them into aliens, and the show is just them going on adventures fighting other bad guys with it. It was great. And you could probably guess how excited I was when I heard that there was a movie coming out. Not a theatrical movie, but a TV movie. That being Secret of the Omnitrix. And here's the thing. I live in Canada, and we didn't have Cartoon Network at the time. We had Teletoon, and it did play Ben 10, but I would later learn that it got the episodes at a much slower pace, because by the time we got the movie, we barely had Season 3. But thankfully, the weekend they played it, they marathoned the entire third season, and it was great. At least for me. Anyways, enough with the backstory, enough with the brief history, or at least plot synopsis on what the show is. Let's get to the movie. The movie begins with Gwen and Grandpa Max being captured by one of the show's villains, that being Dr. Animo, who is currently trying to use a doomsday device to de-evolve humanity. Just go with it. And then, right on time, Ben shows up as one of his aliens, and that one being Heat Blast. Okay, so, little fun fact about the movie, assuming you didn't know. This movie has 3 different openings. The first one we're looking at is the default one where Ben turns into Heat Blast, but the other 2 are different. How? Well, they changed the alien that Ben uses. In the other one, he turns into his fast alien, Accelerate. And in the third one, it was kind of the debut of a new alien, which we had not seen yet. That one being Eye Guy. And I never knew about these other 2 endings. My brother did say he might have seen the one with Accelerate, but the one with Eye Guy, we never knew about. And they are on the DVD. They're not lost media, thankfully, but yeah, it was how the DVD was labeled, or at least how they labeled the different versions. It was kind of confusing to me and my brother when we were kids, because they labeled it Secret of the Omnitrix Red, Secret of the Omnitrix Blue, Secret of the Omnitrix Gold. And when we tried to watch them, the movie just looked the same. Before Ben showed up, we would just hit next before the alien showed up, and we would just not realize any changes. Yeah, I know, we were stupid kids, but what can you do? And here's another annoying thing. On the Season 4 DVD, it came with this little pamphlet, and when you open it up, it shows a screenshot of Eye Guy from one of these openings, and since we didn't know about the different openings, we thought it was just from the episode he appeared in, but after rewatching it, that screenshot wasn't from there, so for the longest time, I just thought there was a lost episode where Eye Guy first appeared. Yeah, I know, I've been rambling, so let's just move on. Anyways, he sends one of his monsters to attack Ben, that being a weird bug monster he created. It doesn't really work against Ben since, well, for one, he's a fire creature attacking a bug, which I think was going to happen. And then afterwards, Ben tries to overload the machine to stop it, which does seem to work. However, the machine shoots off this weird energy, and after it does, the Omnitrix starts glowing orange for some reason. But Ben brushes it off when it recharges immediately and goes to chase after Animo. And when he tries to use the Omnitrix, it starts glitching out through his transformations, ending with him stuck as gray matter, but he improvises by using a hoverboard he got back in Season 1, and granted, he doesn't do much to Dr. Animo, but hey, at least he crashes into a pipe, so that kind of stops him. Later on at the mall, the watch starts glowing orange again, and this time it shoots out a powerful shockwave, which gets them banned from the mall. Then later at night in the RV they're sleeping in, a spaceship lands in front of them, and when they go to see who it is, It's actually Tetrax. Okay, so to get you up to speed on who this guy is, he's probably from one of the most important episodes of Season 1. And it's important because the episode where we learn that the watch that Ben has been using is called the Omnitrix. And that whenever Ben turns into, it's not just some random transformation. He's actually turning into different species from other planets. And he backs this up by literally being one of the aliens that Ben can turn into. He then goes on to say that the reason he's here is because he noticed the SDM signal coming from the Omnitrix, which Grandpa Max translates as self-destruct mode. Then Tetrax asks Ben if he can remember what exactly could have caused this, leading to Ben remembering his fight with Animo, and then he just plays dumb saying he has no idea what caused it. Tetrax then says he's going to help turn it off, but unfortunately he doesn't know how. So he's going to take Ben to look for the creator of the Omnitrix, that being a being known as Asmus, who nobody knows or exactly what planet he lives on. And after looking at the watch, he deciphers that it might probably go off in less than 4 days, so they don't have much time. As well as saying he's going to leave Grandpa Max behind, mostly because he's an ex-space cop and might get recognized. And after getting a brief tour of the ship, as well as being the pilot Gluto, we then cut to another spaceship that's being taken over, and it's being taken over by the show's main villain, Vilgax, who somehow managed to escape the Null Void after Season 2. Nonetheless, he also catches wind of the SDM signal and is wondering why the Omnitrix is leaving planet Earth. We then see Tetrax scanning the watch to hopefully find any clues as to where to find Asmus, and thankfully he does find his DNA signature on it, and when he pinpoints where it is, it happens to be currently on a prison planet known as Incursicon. And before they can get going, they notice an intruder on the ship, and when Ben tries to transform to find him, he ends up turning into Wildmud and discovers that the person who snuck on board was Gwen. And after almost getting sucked into the vacuum of space, Tetrax notices that the countdown on the watch for some reason seems to have accelerated. We then cut to Ben and Gwen inside of a hologram chamber on the ship. Yes, it has one of those. And Gwen brings up that Tetrax said they would get the watch turned off, not fixed, and lo and behold, he comes in confirming it, as well as confirming that every time Ben transforms, the countdown on the explosion always seems to speed up. And also around this time, the watch shoots another energy blast. When they eventually make it to Incursicon, they almost get shot down, but thankfully Tetrax is able to light up their garbage truck, granting them access. But before they go in, he points out that seeing a human might be a problem. Not because they hate humans, but they see them as delicious food. So as a compromise, he shows them in an alien costume just so they can wander around with him, and when they do, Ben sees someone that looks like Vilgax, so of course he transforms and tries to fight him. Okay, so the alien he turns into to fight him is called Upchuck. I bring this up because remember when I said they marathoned all of Season 3 right before the movie? Well, Season 3's last episode was kind of one that grossed out me and my brother, and it was just kind of lame, so we changed the channel and decided to go back when the movie started. But here's the thing. At the end of the episode, the alien Upchuck made his first appearance, but since the episode grossed out me and my brother so much, we didn't know that, so this movie was the first time we got to see this alien. We then see Tetrax get attacked by 66, who was another character who first appeared in the same episode he did. And as Ben fights Vilgax, he quickly realizes something about him.
What's your problem?
That voice! Hey, you're not Vilgax! You're a girl!
Yeah, I know.
After getting flown across the room and turning back into a human, all the inmates recognize the Omnitrix and try to take it from him. And after a bit of a skirmish where Ben and Gwen try to fight them all off with pipes they ripped out of the wall and floor, he then meets up with the woman he saw with Vilgax and asks why he has it, leading to her to explain that she did work on the watch, confirming that she is Asmus. He then asks if she can fix the watch, but she'll only do it in exchange for getting her off Incursicon. Shortly after, Ben gets captured and the Omnitrix shoots off another powerful energy wave, which is thankfully good enough to buy them enough time for Gluto to come in and give him a ride off in Kursicon, along with 6-6 hitching a ride without them noticing. Shortly after getting to a safe space for her to work on the watch, she comes clean about something. She's not Asmus. Her name is actually Myax, and when they ask her why her DNA was on the watch and not Asmus, well, it's because she was angry that he got all the credit for making the watch and not hers, so she put her DNA on out of spite, leading to Tetras angrily asking her a pretty fair question.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't shove you in an energy tube and shoot you back to Incarcicon right now!
Because I know where Asmith is.
That's a pretty good reason.
She then tells him that he's on a planet called Xenog, which Tetrax isn't too happy to go to, as well as bringing up that as the countdown to the explosion gets closer, the shockwaves from the watch get stronger. As well as Tetrax coming clean that if it were to go off, it won't just blow up Ben. It will blow up half the universe. And the reason he didn't tell Ben because he figured he'd be more concerned with his well-being, but Ben brings up that he does do good with it, leading to Tetrax to ask him this.
Ask yourself this: do you help because it's the right thing to do, or for the thrill of being a hero?
We then briefly cut back to Vilgax, who picks up 6-6 after falling off the ship during the Incursicon breakout, still wondering where they're going with the Omnitrix. Then it shows Myax attaching an inhibitor to the watch to hopefully keep the shockwaves in check. And almost immediately afterward, they reach an entirely blacked out part of space where Xenog is, and this was put here by Asmus mostly to keep people from finding him, and all that's here are just asteroids and broken ships that tried to navigate this place. And Myax does tell him that the only way to navigate is through the Omnitrix, leading to them putting Ben on the top of the ship to hopefully navigate them through the asteroid field. But then shortly after, the Omnitrix shoots a beam of light towards Xenog, practically re-illuminating this part of the galaxy, making it easier for them to navigate. They then get attacked by Vilgax, leading to Ben floating off into space, and before he could transform, Tetrax sends in a pod just so Ben won't have to transform and risk the countdown speeding up. And while this goes on, him and Myax try to detach the cables connecting the ship, along with Gwen and Gluto trying to fend off Vilgax's soldiers. Then we get a part where Ben shoots at 6-6, causing his mask to come off, and his face is much grosser than I thought it would be, along with giving us a bit where Gluto sacrifices himself to save Gwen. Then we see Ben just make it to the docking bay, where he meets up with Vilgax demanding the Omnitrix, despite him already knowing that the self-destruct has been enabled. Not gonna lie, I kinda wish at this part he gave an explanation as to how he escaped the Null Void. Nonetheless, Ben, through some quick thinking, is able to send Vilgax off into space. He then makes his way back to the bridge, where he sees that Gwen is trying to land this thing, mostly because Gluto is dead. He does help her land the ship, however, it's a crash landing, but hey, at least no one else got killed, thankfully. We then see them making their way to where Asmus is supposedly hiding, and when they get there, they said the place was overgrown with plants. And not just any plants, these plants are aliens, and believe it or not, it's an alien that Ben can turn into. And when one of them captures Gwen, Ben ignores the whole timer thing and transforms anyways, and when he tries to save her, they get her. And after he turns back, he starts yelling at Myax for helping create the Omnitrix, because if she never made it, none of this would have happened. After Tetrax breaks up the dispute, he then asks Myax where Asmus will be hiding next, and on their way to the next possible lead, he then tells Ben a story about how he was kind of responsible for nearly wiping out his own species into extinction by helping Vilgax. And with this, Ben reflects on what caused the SDM to go off, making him finally admit to what he did and want to take responsibility for it. And when they finally make it to Asmus and try to tell him the situation, he says he already knows about the SDM mode, and he honestly doesn't care and tells him to leave. And given how much Ben has lost already, mostly his cousin, he turns into Cannonbolt and breaks in and attacks him. And after it looks like Ben supposedly kills him, it turns out this was just a robotic body and that the real creator was inside of it. And it also happens to be another alien that Ben can turn into. And after asking him again to turn off the self-destruct, He still says no, that the universe is better off with a big reset after the explosion. Then goes on to say that the original purpose of the Omnitrix was to help creatures understand each other, like know what it's like to be this species. And given everyone else's selfish intent, they all turned it into a weapon, which it wasn't meant for in the first place. And after Ben calls him a jerk and before he can process, they notice something happening outside. When they make it outside, they see that Vilgax brought an entire army and immediately starts firing on them. And when Tetrax makes cover for them to hide behind, Ben is about to transform before Tetrax says that one more transformation could set it off. Then Asmus questions why are they still fighting if all the odds are against them, leading to Ben saying that he doesn't think about himself unlike he does. Then we get a really cool scene where we see Ben trying to fight off Vilgax's army with an arm can that Tetrax gave him, and then out of nowhere Gwen and Gluto are for some reason alive, and the explanation they give is really stupid and half-assed, and I'm not even going to try to explain what the hell it is. Anyways, we do get some more fighting, leading up to Ben getting the idea to take the inhibitor off the Omnitrix that Mayax put on, causing one more massive shockwave to take out most of the army, which then leads to the self-destruct about to go off, but then Asmus reluctantly decides to just shut it off finally, and things only get worse when Vilgax comes in with more giant robots, but Ben does try to plead with him by saying that the watch is deactivated and not worth the effort, but then Vilgax makes a counter-argument that the creator is still here, so we can just kidnap him and force him to make something stronger. Then we see Ben and Gwen hiding behind the barricade that Tetrax made, where Ben starts to feel useless without the Omnitrix, leading to Gwen giving him a nice pep talk about how much good he's done without it. Then it all ends up meaning nothing when Asmus comes back, reactivates the Omnitrix, and gets Ben his most powerful alien yet, as well as his biggest alien, and this alien is called Way Big. Yeah, I know the name's a little on the nose, but hey, it's pretty cool to see him have an alien this big and powerful and able to take out Vilgax's entire army single-handedly, eventually leading to him just chucking Vilgax into space. We then cut to a little later where we see Asmus rigging up one of the giant robot heads as a way of transportation off the planet, as well as Ben trying to give him back the Omnitrix, but Asmus says it's in good hands, along with him being happy to be rid of it, seeing how the thing has caused him nothing but trouble all this time. Then everyone gets sent home, with Ben looking forward to just having a normal day, until they hear through a police radio that zombies are attacking somewhere, ending the movie with them rushing off to go deal with it, and more adventures yet to come. And that was my video on Ben 10 Secret of the Omnitrix, and after watching it again, I'm happy I still really like this movie, because as a kid, this movie was just epic. Like, literally, during the climax, Ben cannot use the Omnitrix, despite the fact that's what he always relied on in these situations. And whenever this movie came on TV, I never changed the channel. Not once. It was that entertaining. And if you're a fan of the original show, I think you'll still like it. If you're a new fan, well, just let me know if you did see it. And, not gonna lie, I completely was unaware that this year was Benton's 20th anniversary. I just happened to want to do this movie by the time it happened. So for fun, next video, I'll be showing you all of my Ben 10 DVDs, as well as explaining why I have the Season 4 DVD instead of the movie DVD. And if you have this DVD, you would probably already know why. If not, see you then.